Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. I don't know what day it is anymore. Yeah, so happy Wednesday, and welcome to another episode of But Make It Fashion. This is a stream where I do fashion illustration based on a theme, and this month of July we're doing elements for the Monday and Wednesday show. And on Fridays we do Dungeons and Dragons But Make It Fashion, where I take a random monster from the monster manual and create a wonderful piece of fashion out of that. Today we are doing part 2 of the Samarium gown or dress. It's definitely not a gown. It's more of a fun, flirty flapper dress. So we are doing part 2 because on Monday, even after sketching for almost 3.5 hours, I did not finish the thing. I didn't finish the sketch. So I am going to be doing the final details on the dress today. I'm also going to be putting in details on of course, the body, the accessories, and the shoes. And I would like to say, please let me know if the balance on sound is better today. My lovely sister just texted me before starting my stream, thankfully before, saying that I've been a little bit quiet. So I've turned up my mic and I'm turning down the music a tiny bit. So hopefully the balance is better. Just let me know. I'm still learning how to do all of this, and every day feels a little bit different, especially sometimes I change the settings on my computer, and like, I don't know how it works sometimes. Like, does that help? I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Anyways, so before we jump into things, thank you all so much for watching. I know today is going to be kind of a intermittent day with folks popping in and out of chat. But honestly, I do it for the fun of it. So I'm going to be doing this whether I'm on stream or not. I also find that doing it on stream, there's a little bit more accountability for me continuing and practicing my fashion illustration. So, like I said, today we are going to be doing the Samarium gown, and let me pop here. I've also changed my setup on my iPad just a little bit. I'm doing more of a horizontal approach. I was able to then expand the sketching area for you to see a little bit better. So hopefully that will help. I want to make sure that you guys can see what I'm working on and what details are in the place. So you can see here that I have the top half of the gown pretty well underway. There's still quite a bit of shading that I need to do in here. And then I also need to move into the skirt portion for shading. I also need to do the highlighting on the skirt and the top of the gown, the bodice. And then I can move on to the other accessories like the shoes and the armband and the circlet. After I get that all done, then I do what I do in every episode, which is work on the body and the hair, all those details. So we'll do that today as well. And then we should have time to put her also in a little bit of a, I don't want to say scenario, but I'm going to create a frame to go around her that's like an archway or something that is reminiscent of the Art Deco period. Sorry, my brain is a little off today. I'm running on about 4 hours of sleep. I don't know if any of you are similar, but the quarantine has certainly messed up my sleep schedule, and some nights I'm fine and I can go to bed right away. Other nights I'm up until 4 a.m. So what can you do? You just gotta roll with the punches a little bit. The other thing that I want to mention is that after I do this element, we have another element on Monday. I haven't chosen that. I do have something in the wings if need be, but I'd love to know what you guys all think what I should do for Monday and Wednesday of next week. It looks like I might be having some technological difficulties. I'm going to turn the internet off of one of my devices real quick. I'm dropping frames, and that's not good. So, because that means you won't be able to see. Skipped frames detected 99% over the last 2 minutes. That's a decent chunk. So I'm going to go ahead and move into the illustrating scene and get to work on this bad boy. Bad girl, whatever. And I'm just going to move up into here. The details, like, I'm really glad that I have all the shading in place on the main braids, but I am going to need to do some around the bust because I noticed when I was looking at this that it's very flat looking, but on the, I guess, her left hand side, my right hand side, there's a very well-defined breast. So I want to make sure that we, I don't want to say accentuate, but I want to make sure that it doesn't look like it's just one-sided. You know, she's not an Amazon, so let's add some shading. And I have done some work this week, so I need to remember to pop it to the right brushes. It's always important to do that. So with shading like this, it's really, really important to use a really light hand. Yeah, and I'm on the right side. So I'm basically just shading underneath the bust area where there would certainly be, oh yeah, see. Oh, hi. Hi, Mullet, Momming Like Molly. Yeah, it looks like today might be an issue with internet, so. Of course, Monday was a really good day for this, and today maybe not so much. So I haven't used that much internet today. But sorry if I'm frozen a lot. You know, there's only so much that I can do. Yeah, unfortunately, it definitely looks like we're gonna have some lag today. I am so sorry. It's something that I don't have a lot of control over, unfortunately. Okay, so I'm really happy with how I just finished shading that top portion of the bodice. You can see that um, the bust is more defined now, and I've also kind of curved in the waist a little bit, so she looks literally more well-rounded. I know that sounds funny, but yeah, she's more well-rounded on this one. Okay, it looks like the lag is dropping. That's good. Okay. Ugh, goodness gracious. So now that I've done that, I'm going to come down and move back to my soft airbrush. And what I can do is just come along here and start shading these strips of fabric. And there goes my phone. Oh, we're just gonna set that aside. Okay, so the drawing was okay, but I was freezing off and on. I'm wondering... Maybe it is my video card. Ooh. My computer is not that old, but it was not that expensive. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take the shade and bring it out on the edge of each of these strips, just to create the illusion of depth and that these are overlapping each other a bit. Also, Becca, how are you doing today on this lovely Monday? It sounds like it's humid in Colorado. Is what I gleaned from the family text message earlier today. And of course the edge over here. Yeah, it's been relatively humid out here. You know, for me, after moving from Colorado to a coastal state, everything is more humid than it was back in Colorado. So I've had to get used to that quite a bit, but today is actually seems like a more humid day than normal here too, so I don't know if it's just the specific weather that we're having or what. Is your hair all curly like it sometimes gets when it's humid? Yeah, that's the fun thing about our family. All of us have very different hair textures between my two sisters and I, and my hair has gotten significantly curlier as I've gotten older, and since I've moved out here to LA, my hair is quite curly. I do blame that in part on the humidity. But Becca, who's in the chat, when we were all in California many, many years ago, her hair popped like into perfect ringlets. Mine just gets a little poofy, curly. You know, maybe we'll see once it starts to get a little bit longer how well that holds up. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. So it's interesting to try to be shading these individual strips. The density of the line is kind of changing how much depth it looks like there is, so that's kind of fun, but I'm trying not to extend past the lines too much so it breaks the illusion. But it's also kind of difficult to look at and go, okay, which of these are on top, which of these are below? And certainly the middle one on each looks like it's below because of the way that the fabric is coming out of the braid bundle. So that would leave the outer two pieces of each braid bundle on top, but those butt up against the outside two pieces of the neighboring ones. So yeah, the shading is very zen. It's it feels a little bit like I'm coloring in a coloring book, but way more detailed. But yeah, it is kind of mindless. You know, there's a certain point where you start to get really intuitive about where you're gonna put the shade. One thing that I'm excited about, so while I couldn't sleep last night, I started experimenting with some new techniques that I've learned. And one of them is creating animated GIFs or GIFs. I know that's a really polarizing topic of how people pronounce that. I know that I think technically the creator pronounces it GIF, even though it's a graphic interface something, or I don't know. I don't care. It's an animation. So I've been playing with those since last night, and I'm enjoying it. It's really, really fun. It's easy to do on Procreate. So I'm going to be creating some for fun. I suppose I can actually create them for Instagram stories. So if I wanted to use one in my Instagram story, I can create my own. So I learned how to do that last night, and we'll probably start using those, use some custom ones for posts of mine. So I was thinking, also I could create a little animation for the beginning portion of my live streams. So when it says starting soon, I can do like scissors cutting across or something. It can't go super detailed, you know, it's not a proper animation tool, but it can do at least 22 different frames, and I can extend those frames for as many seconds as I want. Within reason, I'm sure, but... Yeah, you know, this, even though this would be a really time-consuming dress to make, I am very, very tempted to make this one too. However, I might change the color palette. So if I am to do this for Vancouver Fashion Week in the spring, I would want to do this in a different color palette. Because I think I am 95% certain that I'm going to make the Thunder, or the, I guess it's technically both, the Thunder and Lightning dress. That would probably be the finale of the show. And if I can hack it and learn this during quarantine, I would like to do some interactive lighting underneath the skirt so that as the model walks, it would light up the underskirt and kind of light up her footprints. Not prints, but the footfalls. Or I could have it coordinate with the music. I know that's a possibility. Oops. Yeah, maybe I'll share one of the GIFs in a little bit. Depending on how long this takes me to illustrate, I can end the show with a couple of GIFs that I made. They were fun. They were really, really fun. Also, in continuation of our conversation on Monday, I have started to do some research on the Georgia O'Keeffe project for August. I haven't yet reached out to the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum, but I will be doing that once I get more of a, basically a thesis underway. God, I'm like drooling. I'm so sorry if it sounds funny. Yeah, so I am going to contact them once I have a little bit more of an artist statement and thesis to discuss my plans. The good news is, I know that Ghost Ranch out in Abiquiu, New Mexico, which is where Georgia O'Keeffe spent most of her time painting, that's where her studio was, they have a collection of weaving looms from the company that I used to work for. So I'm hoping to kind of use some of my connections and see if I could do a show there in a couple of years, or maybe even next year, depending on coronavirus. You know, so much of life is kind of being dictated by that. And basically teach a weaving workshop out there, and also do a miniature fashion installation. I think that would be really fun and right up my alley. But of course I need to get their permission first. I may need to pay for some of the rights to their images, so I just need to contact them and make sure I do everything by the book for next month. Oh, hi, Lion's Tooth. Yeah, so it would be like a lightning storm under a cloud, and because the interior of that gown, I'm imagining like a gold satin, so it would be reflective, and you would see that just like kind of gold shimmer happening underneath this dark silken gown on top. And I've even thought about putting LEDs in with the beaded lightning so that the LEDs would flicker as well. So it's going to be a showstopper. Wow, do you see how much depth that added to the skirt portion of this? Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Awesome. Okay, so, oh, and Becca, since you're here in the chat, um, is the sound balance better? I really want to make sure that, you know, I don't sound so quiet, because that defeats the purpose of people being able to hear me. Okay, so I'm going to use this really dark brown for the sandals. I know I haven't gone back and done the highlighting on any of this, but the naked sandals are bothering me, so. I want this to basically be like a really dark leather. And I will highlight this as well to create that illusion of being leather. There is a paintbrush in Procreate that looks like skin. And since leather does have that skin texture, I think what I will do is actually kind of paint over this with a lighter, just like a lighter shade. Oh, jeez, that was... yeah, a lighter shade of this brown tone. Okay, good. So the sound balance is way better. Okay. So I am going to go back to that layer with the shading. And this is, since, you know, the shoes aren't anywhere near the rest of the gown or dress, I can go into the touch-ups thing. And this is where I have all these different things like fine hair, stubble, a noise brush, old skin, rough skin, zombie skin. And the old skin is the one that I think looks most like leather. So I can go in, I think, is this... looks a little too light, or too dark. So let's bring that here. Ah, the brush was too big. Okay. This brush is also pressure sensitive. So the more pressure I put down on it, the more saturated the color is. So I can actually automatically highlight just by pressing a little bit harder. And again, it's not like this is something that will be seen from far away, but I think it's important to take the time and the care to do this kind of detail work, especially since, you know, this is going to be something that I might reference later for a fashion show or for an actual garment. I can go, oh, here is my thought process on this. And I do need to go in here. This line art layer is bothering me. I was a little messy. And I just can't have that. She's upside down. Nice. Okay. So I'm going to move into the armband layer and the circlet, diadem, I don't know. I know there are technical terms for both of these. And what I'm going to do here is I want this to look very metallic. So when I'm building up my layers here, I need to go back to my airbrushing. I am going to go back to the soft brush just because the filtering out is a little bit better. I'm going to build the shading right up to a bright white. And I'm going to center on the upper ridges of these. So do I have the right layer? Yes, I do. And actually, I might have to move to my regular soft airbrush. Nice. And I'm going to go right up to the white and make my brush even smaller. And kind of in that middle zone, but still erring on the upper portion of that. That's where I'm going to do the brightest highlight. And I will probably end up blending these a little bit. Oh, too much. Just to soften, not soften, those lines. I don't want it to be so harsh. And then I am going to go in with just a slightly darker tone. Again with my airbrush. And nick the edges of this. And then let's make it really small airbrush. And bring it into this kind of gap between each of these bands. And then also these sharp edges here. So can you see the difference? This bottom one, that drop shadow, helps curve each of those individual bits. And when you only have the highlights, you don't really see that roundness. So I'm able to trick the eye again. You know, I've heard a lot of controversy surrounding digital art not being real art. And here's what I'm going to say about that, even though nobody's really asked. I think it takes the same kind of skills to do digital art as it does to do traditional art. You know, people saying that the computer does all of the work for you don't really understand that you have to have the knowledge of how things work in order to be able to get your vision across. You know, it's very, very difficult when what's going on in your brain does not translate out into the actual piece that you're working on. You know, you need to understand shading, you need to understand highlighting and directionality of light. You need to understand how different fabrics absorb light or reflect light, or how different materials are, you know, how they work. So people who think that digital art isn't real needs to try it themselves. Whoops. There we go. Sometimes that happens and I don't know why. So we're going to do the same thing up here, is take that lighter tone. I need to make my brush a little bit bigger. And we're kind of highlighting this upper half, if you will. And then I can come in with that highlight and bring that brush down a little bit and come up again just above that mark. And of course, I am going to blend this out again a little bit. Up here, I'm going to really just highlight this top portion to kind of follow the contour of that detail. Because of course, this is where the light is hitting it, right? So now I can come in and do my smudge. That's too much. There we go. That was too much. And then of course I can come in and do my curvy shading here. And let's put it here and here. Yeah, the important thing to do with shading this kind of work is you don't want the contrast between your highlight and your low light to be too much, unless it's a highly reflective material. And with this like rose gold, it is reflective, definitely, but it's not, say, like a mirror finish, you know, it's more of a matte finish. Yeah, Paint computer program was definitely the original digital art form. Gosh, MS Paint, who doesn't remember that? Okay, so now that I've gotten that out of the way, because it was bugging me. Oh, and I might actually come in and do some legitimate highlighting here. just to kind of keep that gloss. Oh no, what's going on? She's upside down. Yeah, these highlights just really help ground this in some sort of sense of reality. Okay. So because this dress, I'm assuming this fabric has kind of a metallic sheen to it, I need to be very wise about how I add the highlights to the actual fabric itself. And I think what I might do is go back to that same dry brush that I was using before with this highlight color. So we can do a test, obviously. Now these highlights are going to center kind of more in the middle of these braids because that's where more of the light is going to be hitting. There won't be a lot down here, but we can't ignore it completely. Okay, so now, does this look like a highlight or does it look like a mess? You tell me. So I think what I might try is the other option on this side, which is essentially just doing a light airbrushing. I should have done that on a different layer as a test. Whoops. Okay, which highlighting effect do we like better? Number one, with the airbrush, or number two, with the dry brush? And here I can actually zoom in even more. Yeah, that's a vote for airbrush. Okay. Yeah, I'm leaning towards airbrush as well. It looks more subtle. Um, yeah, I agree. It looks like a lot more like a metallic sheen. Okay, so airbrush it is, which does mean I need to, since I didn't do it on a separate layer, I just need to hit undo until I get back to here. Cool. And actually up here, I need to put this in shadow more than it is, because it's basically around the neck. And same with this side. She'd have to be like pretty backlit, uh, otherwise. Yeah, I agree. Number two is getting very messy. And this really allows me to control how much shine there is here. Yeah, it did have kind of that hemp flavor, if you will. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. What I love about adding the highlights is how much more dimension it brings. So it's like you can't have just the shadow, you know, you have to have the light. And I know that sounds like very, very philosophical. That was too much. But yeah, like you don't really appreciate those shadows until you have the counterpoint of the highlight. And like as we get into this area where it wraps around the bosom, that will make the roundedness look even more intense by having just the highlights on the top. But then, of course, we can bring it right back in the areas that there would still be some highlight. Exactly. It really, really showcases the braiding more. It makes it look more three-dimensional. And what I like is that it's not completely destroying the texture that I created underneath. It's like we're still getting plenty of that texture. And what I love is that I can just do a little bit of pressure sensitivity with my pen here, and it allows me to be very, very small and transparent, or I can go really bold if I need to. Oh, that is such a good part of Hamilton. So funny. I may have to watch it again. So when highlighting and shading and texturizing, it's really important to always go with the grain of what it is that you're working on. So when I am doing the highlights, I'm going with the directionality of the fabric, and that helps significantly. Okay. I'm gonna add some random highlights in here, kind of opposite where the lowlights are. But I'm not gonna really overdo it on the skirt because having more variation in the skirt will make it look more interesting. So I'm just gonna find some like random areas to highlight. It adds some more motion, some fluidity. I'm not gonna lie, this is giving me like Wonder Woman goes to the 1920s era. Like, do I need to do a whip now? Like, shoot. I don't know. What can I say? Okay, so I am going to smush my highlight layer down with the regular layer. And then what I am going to do is I am going to bring layer 4 and layer 5 together in a group. And then that group, I'm gonna, okay. I'll have to open each layer individually to do this. I'm gonna drop the opacity. And then bring up the opacity on the line art layer for the body. But if I'm not mistaken, this should erase both. Oh, no it doesn't. I thought it did. Okay. I'll just get rid of that. I guess I'll start with the line art layer. Yeah, so the way that she's holding her hands is that it's over her waist. And I do want to actually do it for this one. I know I've been lax with the other ones. Or I've tried to take a shortcut. But, you know, at this point I've been doing so many details that I feel like that would be silly of me to not take the time to do this right. And what I'll be able to do is go in underneath and shade. To kind of hide some of the weird stuff that I've just done. Okay. Okay. So I can bring this layer back up, and I can bring this layer back up. And now, on this layer, using my soft airbrush, and using this darker color, I can just kind of come in and hide that halo effect. Because this is not going to be terribly visible from far away, again. And just like magic. Except for... yeah, that line makes a lot more sense. Except that would be good if I had it on the right layer. There we go. Okay. So now I can add a new layer. And this will be her skin tone. And then her hair and all of that good stuff. Although I might do her hair on a separate layer. You know. Okay, so the body is now the reference layer. And I'm gonna hide the clothing for a second just to make sure that when I flood this, there won't be any gaps, but we won't know until we try. Okay. And then I'm going to put her hair on another layer. So when I do the shading on that, I don't have to bother. We're going to do like this dark, ruddy brown. Cool. So now what I'm going to do is do a clipping mask and go to the skin tone, get just a darker shade, get my airbrush out, and course, do the shading around the hairline. It's not a huge shadow, because it's not like she's, you know, got super voluminous hair. Get into the kind of eye socket area. We'll need to make sure to highlight her nose tip. Make sure that we shade the side of her face and her chin. And then, of course, yep. Okay. Pretty intense shadow there, back of the neck. And at this point, I am going to bring the clothing layer back up. That way I know exactly where I need... Oh no, have I been putting her... Yep. I wasn't on the right layer. Okay. Now, I'm on the right layer. And this is going to be a clipping mask. I already got that done. Good, good, good. And it's a good thing I did that, because I kind of forgot she was wearing the circlet. And we definitely need to shade underneath the circlet to make it really pop off the face. Then again, let's do the nose and shade that side of the face more. Chin. This portion here a little bit. This side of the nose. The hair. And we're going to put it anywhere that this garment is touching her body. There is definitely going to be a shadow there. And of course, here. And then, of course, we're just going to do the very outer edge as well to give that illusion of roundness. And we'll highlight her as well. But I always like to do the low light first, the shadows. And then, of course, down here. And I'm going to kind of make that shadow a little more jagged. because the nature of this garment is that it has multiple strands and layers, so your shadow is not going to be even. And I'm putting a drop shadow underneath the straps, not on top of the strap. And of course, let's do the rounding. Okay, time to do the old smudgeroo. And again, I'm mostly using this to soften the blur, or to blur the line, soften the line. Because, again, the way that the skin works is that it really diffuses the shadow, unless it was really harsh bright light, which, again, we don't have here. I will say the proportion of this forearm is a little weird, but it's because we're getting what's called foreshortening in the arm, so the way that you look at it is kind of extending behind her body a little. Okay, so I can now smush those two layers together. I'm going to create another layer for the hair and do, again, a clipping mask. Pick her hair color, darken it a little bit. And pretty much just underneath the circlet, that's where we're going to have the most shade. We're also going to do some shade over on this side. And of course a little bit on the crown of the head, and a little bit where her part is. And we're not going crazy here. And then just doing some smudging here. And now I'm going to come in with an even lighter tone, and I'm going to find flowing hair. Ooh, but let's make that smaller. You know, no, we're just going to airbrush this. So we're just giving her some like crown highlights up here. Beautiful. I'll smush that down to that layer. So I think the actual outfit and shading and such is all done. Now what I want to do is create like an archway that I can put behind her that reads very much Art Deco. So I'm going to go ahead and hide the picture layer. And then I'm going to do a fun thing here. Let's put this layer at the very tippy top. And there is a cool function under Canvas where I can do what's called a drawing guide. And come in here and do symmetry, options, and we're going to do vertical symmetry. And I am going to bring my color guide here. And hit done. And so she's actually just off center, and I'm not gonna, well, let's see. The way that her body is, she's just a little bit off to the right. So what I'm going to do what am I going to do? Yeah, actually, I'm going to hit copy all. And I'm actually going to create a new canvas. Paste. What this has done is it's flattened all of the layers of her, and I'm going to be able to move her around in one place. What this also allows me to do is on the other one, I won't have to bother with the background, because I will do something different for that one. But I'm going to go back to here and do my layer, and go to my canvas, drawing guide, edit drawing guide, symmetry, options, and we are on vertical. So I can hit done, and go back to my bottom layer, and find her, and bring her more towards the center. Boom. Fantastic. Now I'm going to go back to my layer 2. Actually, no, I'm gonna make her a little bit smaller. And bring her back to center. Cool. I'm gonna change to my inking pen. And first, I'm gonna give... We're going to pop this layer underneath and give her a little bit of a horizon to work on, to walk on, if you will. Oh, come on. I just realized... Okay, one moment. So there was a problem with what I just did, is I had the background highlighted, and if I do that, then it won't be a transparent picture. So now I can go back here and hit paste. Also shrink her down a little bit. Center her. Okay. I'm going to put that one as an unassisted layer, put this one as an assisted layer. Okay. So I don't know if you just saw what I did there, but what I do on one side will essentially automatically be done on the other side. Beautiful. Yeah, it is pretty fancy. It's really, really helpful. You know, it's really helpful. Oops. So this one line right here is kind of bothersome. But yeah, this allows me to be like completely symmetrical on one side. Go back in, clean that up. Let's do that one again. I don't really love how shallow this one is. So I'm going to bring it to here. And then here. Yeah, a little bit like a half a sun. It's kind of what I'm thinking here. I don't know why I'm going into so much detail with this particular sketch. I guess I just feel inspired, you know? And that's what I love about doing what I do. Is that I get to just create and make my own little universe, essentially. Let's do... the cool thing is it doesn't matter if I do it on the left side or the right side. So if there's a certain place where I'm like, this is more, like I feel more comfortable doing it over here, then I can. Come on, whoops. Okay. I think I'm actually gonna trick. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Yeah, Art Deco is very detailed. It's all about those angles and areas of entry. But also, I just got, I got surprisingly into this particular sketch. Okay, and then this allows me to do this, and then this. Yeah. We're gonna do this, and then this. And I know some of these lines are not perfectly straight up and down, but I am doing my best. Okay. Okay, so now that drawing assist is off, I should have no problem um, plopping color in certain areas. Like up here. However, I will have to do it by hand on each of these. Sorry, I'm also trying to remember to be sure to keep my color palettes. because I may want to use some of these color palettes in a later piece. And I knew I had gotten some white in there. Oh, shoot. You know what? This is fine. And I think here... And let's drop that one in here. I don't love that pale, so I'm going to bring that in here. Yeah. While I would normally like that blue in the background, I feel like it's almost too contrasty. I wonder about this teal. Okay, that's better. Yeah, I like it. Now, I could go in and do some further detailing by doing shadows and stuff to kind of create a relief. But honestly, I like the almost paper doll effect of the background. It really allows the focus to be on the garment. And the good news is, if I want, I can get her to fill the space a little bit more. And then maybe on a layer just above this, oh, emerald green would be very Art Deco. Let's see. Like a vintage green. Let's try that. Oh, crud. I hate when I do that. Okay. Let's pop that here. Emerald green with marble effect. Okay, so that's almost like too much of a Kelly green. Okay, and then maybe let's find... I am learning how to create my own brushes, so I'm still learning. That says marble. I'm not sure. But I guess we can... Unfortunately, that marble effect is not big enough. Also, that color wasn't really dark enough. I wonder if water... Yeah, water mimics the same thing. Ooh, ooh. Okay, I like that green. Oh, wow, that's so different on my computer screen. Okay, so we're gonna go darker with the green in the back. Boom. And then let's go back to the water effect. Am I on the right? Huh? Maybe? Hello? Okay, let's make it bigger. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Well, I like that a lot. And I feel like... Let's add a layer. And I'm gonna want a font that's really... Oh, like, come on. Copperplate is the bomb. And we're going to... Yeah, rasterize. Um, and... I want to find that dark green again. There we go. So cool? Question mark? I knew what you meant. Okay, and you know what else I'm gonna do? Because I'm a crazy boy. I'm gonna do another layer above that. We're gonna do a clipping mask. We're gonna go back to our frickin' water brush. And nope. It's like inlaid emerald. Emerald. Gosh, words. And now I think one of my favorite parts is, let's make sure streamline is off, or low. We need to make that bigger. So I may have to do this. Let's see, let's get back to face and illustrating. Oh, you can see when I get all into it, my hair just falls into my face and gets really crazy. I I may have to do every single piece like this now. Do the garment and do the frame. I mean, it reads, well, this one in particular reads Art Deco. But wow. I'm a little impressed with myself. I know that I should be a lot more humble, if you will. Oh come on, don't do that now. Yeah, I should be more humble, but I love how this turned out. I'm really, really, really pleased. Really, really pleased with how this looks. I love the garment. I love the backdrop. She's gonna fit right in with the other cool ladies of Elements but Make It Fashion. And in fact, here's what we're gonna do is hide all of these layers for a second. Copy layer. Well, yeah. Cancel. Copy. Come back here. And do it. Yeah, Copperplate, the font that I used for the wording is called Copperplate, and it is one of my all-time favorite fonts because it does look like that kind of Roman looking letters. Elements, but make it fashion. Oh, I'm gonna have to make a bigger one because what the? Did I do the wrong layer? Gallery. Let's go back. I was on the wrong layer when I did that. That's hilarious. So I'll just use this one since this is my original. And we'll go back over here. And hit paste. She can come hang out with the other ladies. she may have to be the badass that gets to stand in front of lightning. One moment. Actually, no, I'm still streaming. They can wait. Or not. One moment. Okay, sorry, it was Amazon dropping off some of the supplies that I need for the Character Chronicle boxes. So, um, definitely needed to get that. Okay, so I need to pull this color and go down to this layer and go to my sketching pencil. All right. And this is where we are so far during, let's see, can I, okay, I'm gonna move me and make me a little bit smaller. And bring this over. There we go. Yeah, I think this is one of my best ones as well. I'm really, really pleased. I think she still needs to be a little bit smaller. That way she's at least the same proportions. But, wow. So I think these are going pretty well so far. I might have to make a wider canvas for all of the women of July, because I will end up having about 8, yeah, I think 8 total, unless I do part 1, part 2 on Monday and then Wednesday again. In cases like that, I might, because I do like having more to work off of, I might do some stuff off camera to finish. So, but what I'll make sure that I do is on the next episode is show you what I accomplished, you know. I also just realized, yeah, okay, good. My audio input capture is still high. So yeah, what do you think about this? Let me know. If you're watching this on YouTube on the playback, let me know in the comments below what you think of this one. And for all of you who are joining me here on Twitch, please be sure, if you're watching the playback, to hit the follow button. And if not, go ahead and, if you're watching me on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and the thumbs up button. And I'm going to call this one good. We did about a 2-hour live stream today, so it's my normal amount of time. But I feel really inspired, so I might put some backgrounds on the other ladies, so we'll see. I would love to see you guys on Friday, where we'll be doing Dungeons & Dragons, but make it fashion. And this week we're doing the Ankeg, which is Ankheg. It's kind of like a weird bug-looking monster. I don't feel terribly inspired for that one, so we'll see if anything comes to me over the next couple of days. I don't know. But yeah, in the meantime, I hope you all stay healthy and stay sane during this crazy time, and I'll either see you on Friday or next Monday Friday again is at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here on Twitch, and Monday and Wednesdays are 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I will see you all then. Bye.